All right, Unit 1, Lesson 3 has lots of fractions in it. So we got warmed up on them before. Let's get warm up some more so we're ready to do them. All right, so number 1 says, what is the lowest common denominator, or LCD, of 1/4 and 1/9? So if they're an equation together, what would be the lowest common denominator? So there's a couple of ways to do that. Some people know right off the bat that there are no common factors. In fact, 4 has 2 2s, and 9 has 2 3s, so they have no common factors, so you're going to have to multiply them together to get your lowest common denominator, your LCD, which is 36. So this question just asked what it was. It's 36. Okay? But for 6 and 9, 6 has a 2 and a 3, and 9 has a 3 and a 3. So there's one rule that says when they have something in common, a factor in common, you use that once, and then one of everything they didn't have in common. You multiply that together and you get an 18. Okay, that's one way to do it. Some people do, here's another way, but if that makes sense to you, use the 18 that way. Some people say, okay, multiples of 6. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18. And kind of at the same time, you're thinking 1 times 9 is 9. 9 times 2, that's backwards, is 18. Okay, here it's 18. So either way, your final answer is 18, is the LCD with a 6 and a 9. Okay? All right, over here, we're remembering our divisibility rules. Let's see, these are both even. So they end in an even number. The last digit is even, so we can divide by 2. That's the divisibility test for 2. 16, 16 and 36 is 18. Let's use my calculator. Okay, 36 divided by 2 is 18. They're still even. Take another, 2. So that's 8 over 9. Some people know that 32 is a factor of 8, and some people know 36 is a factor of 9, but you can still just use the divisibility rules and get you there, okay? These over here, divide by 2. They both end in a 2. They got to be divisible by 2. That's a 21, and that's a 16. Leave is an improper fraction. Let's see, a 21 is a 3 and a 7, and 16 is a 4 and a 4. So they have nothing in common, so that is my final answer, okay? All right, so if I was adding 3 over 4 to 7 over 8, I need a common denominator that is the same. So unlike up here where the 4 and the 9 had no factors in common, 4 is actually a factor of 8. So you can use the 8 as their LCD, okay? Some people say if they have no factors, multiply them together. If you have a large one and a small one, and the small one is a factor, you use the large one. Okay, is that a multiple of that? Yes, it is. So what I need is 3/4 as a equivalent fraction with something over 8. So 4 times 2 is 8. So 3 times 2 is 6. That's a 6. Okay. And then this one can stay the same. I didn't have to change that one. Then I can add across the top, and now that we are adding, we do not multiply the bottoms, we just put it over 8. If I have 6 8s plus 7 8s is 13 8s. And leave that is not reducible. So leave it as an improper fraction. Okay? All right, what about 4 and 7? 4 and 7 is like 4 and 9. You have nothing in common, so you multiply them together. So I'm going to turn into 2 equivalent fractions with a 28 on the bottom. So 4 goes into 28 how many times? Well, 7 times. So 7 times 3 is 21. So that's a 21. 5 over 7 equals what over 28? Well, 7 times 4, and 7 times 4 is 20, so that's a 20. All right, so instead of 3/4, I have the equivalent, I upsized it, okay, to 21 over 28. Instead of 5/7, I upsized it and made it 20 over 28, right? And then I could add across the top and get a 41 over 28, and I don't think they have any factors in common. 2 doesn't go into them, 3 doesn't go into them, 5 doesn't go into them. I think 41's a prime number. Yeah, because 7 times 6 is 42, so yep. Nothing goes into those. All right, how about 7 and 21? Well, 7 is a factor of 21. 21 is divisible by 7, so 21 would work. Three over 7 equals what over 21? Let's see, that's times 3, so that's times 3, so it'd be 9. And keep this one the way it is, only make sure you're keeping the negatives. A negative plus another negative is a negative. Those are divisible by 7. There's no rule for that. I just know that they're both factors of 7. They're both multiples of 7, I should say. So my final answer is -2. There's one negative, so we're going to keep it. -2 over 3. All right, this one, let's see, 6 and 9. We talked about 6 and 9. 18. So 5 over 6 turns into what over 18? Let's see. 18 divided by 6 is 3. So that's a 3, so that's a 15. So that's a 15. 4 over 9 equals what over 18? 18 divided by 9 is 2. So that's an 8. This is 23 over 18. Not reducible, not even, not, yeah, nope. 23 is prime. Alrighty. All right, now I got 3 of them. There is a 2 in a 6. 2 is a factor of 6, like the 4 and the 8. So this, if I use the 6, 2 would be okay. But 5's not in there. So I'm going to need to multiply the 6 times the 5 and get a 30. So a common LCD for this bunch with lots of negatives is 30 on the bottom. All right, so half of 30, 1/2 equals what over 30? 30 divided by 2 is 15, so times 15 is 15. 5, 6 equals what over 30? 30 divided by 6 is 5, so 5 times 5 is 25. 2/5 equals what over 30? Let's see, 30 divided by 5 is 6. 2 times 6 is 12. All right, so a -15 plus a -25 plus a -12 is a -52 over 30. Both of those are even. Still a negative. And what, 26 over 15. 3 doesn't go into 26 because that's an 8. There are numbers that go into these, but not the same factors. They have no factors in common, so you can't reduce it any farther. Farther. All right. All right, here's another one. Oh my, with lots of X's thrown in. All right, so LCD for a 3, a 2. A 2 is in a 4, but then it's 4 times 3, so it'd be 12. Okay, 2 is in a 4. So if I used 4, 2 would be okay. But 3 is not in a 4, so 4 times 3 would be 12. So I need to make these all something over 12, and I'm going to take care of this here. This is a double negative, which makes that a positive something over 12. And that's the next term, that's a variable term, and that's a variable term. So they're all like terms. So let's see. A 2 over 3 equals what over 12? times 4 is 8. A half is a 6 over 12. 3/4 equals what over 12? Times 3 is 9. All right, and then, on the key I used 24. That is not their LCD. So what happens when you use a LCD? I used a 24 on the key instead of a 12. What happens when you do that? It still is going to work out. I just needed to reduce my answer at the end. So have no fear. If you end up doing that, it can be fixed at the end. So, here. So 8 plus 6 plus 9 is 23 over 12. And it looks like I dropped my X on the key as well. That should be my final answer on the key. Let me write that down. Little X in there that I forgot. And that should be 12 as a LCD. Okay. I wrote no factors in common, multiplied them together. Yeah, there's a 2 and a 4. So that's okay. I reduced it at the end. You can always do that if you get stuck. I will not take any points off for that. Unless the question said, what is the LCD? It didn't say that here. It just said, what is the total? So however you get there, that's okay. If it had asked, like these questions up here, if I had put something bigger than an 18, that would have been wrong for either of 1 or 2. But for just multiplying through the problem, I'm still okay. All right, over here. All right, more fractions, but now we're going to multiply for this one. So what is 8 times 3 over 8? So let's see. That's really over 1, so we're going across the top, which would be what? Negative 24. Across the bottom, which would be 8. Or you can reduce it by the 8s. That gives you a negative 3. Any way you want to do that. This one over here is over 1. That's going to be 36 over 4, or take the 4 out of that, gives you a 3. That equals 9. Okay. This one isn't it nice for multiplication? You can just multiply across. So this is going to be a negative times a negative is a positive. 12 over 9 times 2 is 72. Or you can take the 4 out of the 8 and the 3 out of the 9 and get 1 out of 6. Double check that 12 divided by 12 divided by 12. 72 divided by 12 is 6. So we're good. This one's kind of strange. Negative times negative is a positive. This is 36 over 36, which is 1, but that would have been kind of obvious. Okay. Okay, back to adding again. Can't use a mixed number, can't use a decimal. I need 15 over 1 equals what over 3? Because wouldn't our LCD be a 3? So we can keep that one. So this was times 3, so this was times 3. So what's that, 45? So that would be 52 over 3, and I think that's not reducible. There's no 3. 5 plus 2 is a 7. 3 doesn't go into 7, so it doesn't match the divisibility rules, or the divisibility, pass the divisibility test. All right, how about this one? So if you have a whole number, you want to turn it into something over the other number so you can use it. So 5 over 1 equals what over 8? Well, this was times 8 and this was times 8, so this is 40. So 40 equals a 43 over 8, and that's it for that one.